Well. Clemson Tiger fans, college football fans, welcome back to another episode of the All In Show right here on Clemson at the Voice of College Football. Thank you so much for joining me. We got a jam-packed show for you guys tonight. Obviously going to talk about a little recruiting. Clemson got their 15th commit of the 2026 cycle. We're going to give you a preview of him and what we think about him joining this already great class of 2026 recruits that Clemson has got verbal commits from. We're going to talk a little bit about some SB Plus rankings as well. So all of that and more coming up in tonight's episode. But before we get into tonight's show, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button for us. Really helps us out on these and hit that like button because it really helps us out on these live videos. We're on the road to 6,000 subscribers, so help us out with that. We have channel memberships now available. So if you'd like to support the show in that way or support the channel, go ahead and click that member and become a channel member. And we'll be coming out with exclusive content for our channel members and those that decide to support the channel and the show in that way. And with all of that said, and without further ado, I'm going to bring on my co-host, Jordan Bowman. What's up, brother? How you doing tonight?
Good, man. I'm still missing my old background. That's for sure. One day StreamYard is gonna let me back in. We still have to get that sorted out. But other than that, oh boy, I'm watching the baseball team kind of collapse. They were one out away of getting out of the inning, only giving up one run after giving up, having first and third with nobody out. And then you get is that a wild pitch or a pass ball? That is a wild pitch. That is definitely a wild pitch. But in other words, in other news, Clemson recruiting is really heating up. Life is good. Life is good.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's going to be a busy night for Clemson as a whole. A lot of sports going on tonight. Baseball obviously in the midst of trying to get another win in the ACC tournament here in the the bottom of the fourth now.
Yeah.
Of course, NC State's winning. Why wouldn't they be? But then softball also has game one against Texas tonight at 9 p.m. So good luck to the baseball team. Hopefully they can pull it out. Same to the softball team. That's a 3-game series for the super regionals for the softball team. So lots going on in sports tonight for Clemson. So we're gonna dive into the show and probably have a little bit of an abbreviated show tonight so that we can go support our Tigers and watch some of the games that we're trying to watch. But a quick shout out to the comment section before we get started tonight. Billy Cotton is in here. Thank you so much for getting in here tonight. Appreciate your support. Appreciate you joining us for the show. John Sarian and Tiggs is in here, our two moderators who are always in here helping us out. Appreciate you guys stopping by. Isaac Smith and Zachariah is in here.
He's back on his actual account.
He's back. No more girlfriend's account. No more stealing people's cell phones to watch the show. Although, we appreciate the commitment. We really do. So welcome back, Zach, on your account. All right, Jordan, kicking off the show tonight, we're going to talk about Contavian Anderson, Clemson's newest commit of the 2026 class. This is a class that is securely in the top 5 right now. This is the 15th verbal commit that Clemson has got so far this cycle. This is a guy that we went head-to-head in-state with South Carolina for out of Dorman High School. Checks in at 6'2", 190 pounds, already a bigger guy as a junior, obviously heading into his senior season. And we look for him to make an exclamation point. He's kind of a hybrid guy, right? Like, safety, nickel, linebacker type body, a bigger guy, a guy that's not afraid to put his head in there and attack the ball carriers. Really good in run support. Also really good at rushing the quarterback at times too. Definitely an athletic guy, a bigger guy. But your thoughts on, Contavian Anderson's commitment to Clemson, what it means, and also that in-state component. This is the second. He's ranked number 2 in the state of South Carolina. Clemson has, of recent, not done well in the state of South Carolina, although we don't recruit it as heavily as South Carolina does. It's still nice to see Clemson get a big win like this. 4-star guy committing to the Tigers in state. So go ahead and give us your thoughts on Contavian Anderson and what this means for the 2026 Clemson recruiting class.
Oh my gosh. I just watched Jack Crichton hit a triple off the wall, and the outfielder completely
did he knock himself out?
Damn near knocked himself out.
Did he?
On the wall.
Yeah.
Okay, he looks okay. That looked bad. I like he went down like he. Okay, we're gonna. This is gonna be a fun part of the segment. We'll have to cut this out. But no, to answer your question, as far as Contavian Anderson is concerned, we talked about this ad nauseum. Leading up to his commitment. This was one of the must-get recruits that Clemson was targeting this cycle. I mean, for all the reasons you stated, Clemson had had kind of lost its foothold a little bit as far as the in-state recruiting is concerned. Yes, Clemson does not recruit the state heavily, but the guys you were going after were going to South Carolina, and so it was very important that this, especially in your territory, a school like Dorman High School that has been a pipeline to Clemson for ages, even before Dabo was the head coach. It was important that you went and won this recruitment. Contavian, he grew up a Clemson fan, so that certainly helped a ton. And it was kind of just a matter of time of when you would pull the trigger and offer him. And obviously there was a lot of South Carolina buzz earlier in his recruitment, but once Clemson pulled the trigger and made the offer, and especially when he got on campus for that elite retreat, it was basically a done deal. He gave the staff his commitment on that day, and we said in a lot of ways when we were talking about him, we said it without saying, like, he's in the boat. You just got to make sure you just got to ride. You just got to ride it till the finish line, and then when he actually makes his public announcement, and so he goes and does it. And I think you're getting a phenomenal football player. As you mentioned, I could totally see him as a nickel type of player at Clemson. I think he'll be able to play and cover receivers, but also I think he can also play safety as a bigger kid. And so I think this, Clemson has shown that they love those types that can, those types of safeties that can play in that hybrid role and move around a good bit and play a little all over the secondary. And I think he'll fit in great in this Tom Allen defense because he does that as well. He certainly likes those types of players as well. So I'm really, really excited. This is a massive get. And like you said, it's a win over the in-state rival. That's, those recruiting wins, you take them and you cherish them because this is how you continue to stay ahead of the curve, as far as that program is concerned, because they do have a lot of momentum right now. But right now, you are the one with the top 3 class in the country right now, and you are definitely in it for a lot of bigger fish that we'll talk about when the recruiting segment rolls around. So congrats to Contavian. I wish we were able to do a video like we normally do, but obviously StreamYard hates us and hates the Voice of College Football Network. So we weren't able to get that out to you. So this is our kind of recap, probably like what's 6 days late.
Yeah, absolutely.
On Contavian Anderson and what he means. Should start calling him Polo, but
right, Polo.
Yeah, Polo Anderson. Welcome to Clemson. Clemson is getting a phenomenal football player, massive get for Mickey Kahn and this defensive staff.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, a huge win for the Tigers. Love beating out South Carolina anytime we're going head to head for any recruit. So it's nice to grab that 4-star, right out of your own backyard in the state of South Carolina. This guy he's Clemson through and through, man. I'm excited about him. I think he's going to be a great player. I think he's going to, he's that safety nickel hybrid guy that fits so well in Clemson's defense. Clemson's defense has used guys like this for such a long time. And now with the addition of Tom Allen as your defensive coordinator, it just makes you more excited to get players like Contavian Anderson that fit that mold so well and can be so versatile and used in so many different ways. So look forward to him to make a huge impact on the Clemson program when his time comes. But shout out to him. And can't wait to see him don that tiger paw on the side of his helmet and play for the good guys. So not our traditional recruiting videos, but again, we are still experiencing issues with StreamYard. So this will have to do. All right, guys, if you did not know, make sure that you go check out the Voice of College Football's brand new website. If you guys did not know, the Voice of College Football officially has a brand new website, the one place that you can go to for all things Voice of College Football. Go check it out. You got articles over there. You got the show schedules over there. You got various forums with different teams over there that you can chop it up with other fans of your own team. You can read originally authored articles by those that work with the Voice of College Football. And again, stay up to date on all the show schedules and changes, much like the change that happened this week with our show. So check it out. It's a great website. A lot of work went into it. I would really appreciate all of you guys to go over there, check it out, make an account, and just follow it. Give it a shot, because that is going to be the singular place that you can get all things Voice of College Football. So go support us over there, and that'd be greatly appreciated, guys. Keeping with the theme of recruiting, Jordan, obviously we mentioned we got a recruiting class in 2026 coming in right now that is securely within the top 5. We talked about the addition of Contavian Anderson and what he means to this 2026 class. But let's be honest, the race is not over, right? We still have to continue to grind it out and keep these guys that are verbally committed satisfied. But not only that, we still got a couple irons in the fire, if you will, Jordan. We still got a couple big names out there that Clemson is hunting to add to this 2026 recruiting cycle. We got the big official visit weekend coming up here soon. And let us know what is new in the world of Clemson football and as far as the 2026 recruiting class goes. Who are the big fishes out there? Who are we waiting on? What should Clemson fans be paying attention to as we get closer and closer to this official visit weekend?
Yeah, a couple of big announcements came out, this week for Clemson. We've talked about one of these guys quite a bit, but another one, it kind of moved off of a little bit in terms of just kind of him being a name to watch. But I'll start with the one that everybody's probably thinking about. Number 1 overall linebacker in the 2026 class, Tyler Atkinson, announced that he will be taking his official visit to Clemson on May 30th. This is the first official visit that he's scheduled. That is pretty significant, and kind of abnormal considering how close we are to official visit weekend, that he's only just now making this announcement. But so far, he's the only Clemson is the only official visit that he has announced. Now, they won't be the only one. I guarantee that.
Guarantee that one.
But we talked about this when the elite retreat happened, that Tyler Atkinson was legitimately him and his family were legitimately impressed by Clemson. He really went from a guy that you're like, okay, yeah, he's saying nice things about Clemson, but I with the other players in this recruitment, I don't think that we're really going to have a seat at the table. I have plenty of reason to believe that is far from the case. I think Clemson is a legitimate contender for Tyler Atkinson at this point. And this is a big deal. And it should also be noted that linebacker Caleb Gordon, who we've talked about a little bit as the other main linebacker target, will not be visiting Clemson. And I will tell you that is not because that is not bad news for Clemson. I'll say that Clemson was not upset about that. And I think that should tell you about how they feel about their chances with Tyler Atkinson. So I think this is a massive development. That doesn't. I'm not saying that he's a lock. I'm not saying that Clemson is even should be considered the favorite.
Right.
But I think Clemson has put themselves in a legitimate chance especially when it comes to the official visit weekend. You never know what can happen. I mean, you come and think about where like Sammy Brown's recruitment like 2 cycles ago. The massive or the main sentiment going into official visit season was, man, he's saying nice things about Clemson. He would be a great fit at Clemson, but Georgia. He's been to Georgia.
Yeah.
They're coming to and going
all
on
the
fishing.
talk was how many times he had been to Georgia. That's all you heard about.
And like it's like, oh man, it's good, but Clemson just doesn't have the cachet to win those types of recruiting battles against Georgia anymore.
Yeah.
But you come to that official visit weekend, and obviously everything flipped. And honestly, it was never as much Georgia as people seem to believe. Like Sammy Brown was was high on Clemson through the entire process, and Clemson was the favorite even before the official visit weekend. Obviously he held that close to his cards, close to the vest.
Yeah.
So I say all that to say that you don't really know until these kids get on campus, and you gotta trust this staff of all staffs to be able to knock it out of the park when it comes to official visit weekend. There we go, Clemson baseball team scored, took the lead.
Yeah.
But that is why I want to make it clear that I think that Tyler Atkinson is not only is he a phenomenal prospect, like one of the best linebacker prospects that we've seen in probably in a few cycles. I think Clemson is in a legitimate chance, and they'll have a legitimate chance to get him when it's all said and done. But you never know, and that's why I am excited about this news, but also got to reel it in a little bit too. So, because yes, there are some big players, some big NIL players in this recruitment, and that's always something to be wary of. But I do think that Clemson is in a better position, from that standpoint than they were, just a couple of years ago. So, Tyler Atkinson, he's going to be acting up. What is his hashtag that he does? It's Atkin Up. In Clemson, South Carolina on May 30th. Big development. And then the other name I wanted to mention, we've been talking about the defensive end recruiting and kind of the lack of juice, it seems there. You've had a couple of guys go elsewhere. Dre Quinn is still out on the board. We mentioned J.R. Hardrick last week as a guy that Clemson seems to be very high on, and he seems to be very high on Clemson. But another name, another big time blue chip name has come to light in Xavier Griffin Haynes, out towards your way, kind of sort of in Rollsville. You're kind of on the other side of Raleigh, but still closer to your part of North Carolina. He announced that he will be taking his official visit to Clemson, and I believe that Clemson is in a Final Four of Clemson, Nebraska. I'm blanking on the other two schools right now. Usually I would have this in my notes, but it is what it is. And so I think that Clemson has kind of surged in that recruitment when it seemed like they were kind of fading a few months ago, but now Clemson has secured that official visit weekend, that official visit from him, and I think he's a really great prospect, and that's why when it comes to recruiting and when it comes to Clemson, even when things seem slow and when things don't have a lot of juice,
right.
Staff, trust the staff sometimes. Like I think that's the motto that should be the kind of takeaways, that you got to let things play out, because you never really know. It's like, oh man, is Chris Rumpf asleep at the wheel? No, he's out there recruiting. And so two big, massive announcements this week, and what's already going to be a pretty star-studded official visit weekend for Clemson. Those two, obviously, the big names, because we're in at the two positions that we've been keeping the biggest eye on the defensive side of the ball. So Tyler Atkinson, Zeman Griffin-Haynes will be in Clemson on May 30th.
Absolutely. Tons of recruiting news coming out. It's going to be exciting. We're almost to the official visit weekend, which is kind of like, that bright light we've been staring at for the better part of a month now, and talking about and reviewing the list of recruits that are going to be there, and all of the excitement that's going to go in and around that official visit weekend. And again, like you mentioned, you never know what's going to happen on that official visit weekend. Crazy things happen. It tends to be good things for the Tigers in most cases, but you just never know. Super happy with the list of guys that are going to be coming. I think it's going to be great. It's nice to have guys that you already have commitments from there, just to kind of nudge those guys along a little bit, and give them stuff to think about when it comes to committing to the Tigers. But I'm certainly excited and looking forward to the official visit weekend and all the news that will inevitably follow that weekend. But we'll go ahead and leave recruiting there for now. And I want to get to a message from our very own Mark Rogers.
You can make a difference here at the Voice of College Football. Use the Amazon link. Financially contribute to the Voice of College Football without spending a penny. Same shopping experience. It's easy. Go to any video on any channel. Go to the description section and grab the link right next to the capital letters that say Amazon. Use that link, and Amazon will instantaneously convert to your account, settings, history, everything intact, just like whatever link you use right now. No difference. Pay no attention to the product that you see right there. Just go search what you want. Don't forget the Amazon link. Thank you for your support. Sincerely, the Voice of College Football.
All right, guys, you heard that. 26 people in the live chat right now. Thank you guys so much for being here during the show tonight. Make sure you hit that like button while you're in here. Get us as close to that 26, 28 number now that we have in the live chat. Really appreciate that. If you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. Me and Jordan do the All-In Show right here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Today is obviously Thursday. We had to move the show due to a scheduling conflict with my work. But nonetheless, we are bringing you the weekly All-In Show as promised. Next week, we will be back to our regularly scheduled Wednesday, 8 p.m. time frame. So check us out there. Check us out then. Make sure you are following us on Twitter as well. Jordan is a great follow on Twitter. You see his handle right there next to follow us, JoeBo0209, and my Twitter handle as well, TPC_CFB. So give us a follow over there. We post all of our stuff about the show over there, post a lot of Clemson stuff over there. Jordan is always ruffling some feathers here and there over there. So that's always fun to watch as well. So if that's something you're interested in, go give him a follow and consider calling us one of your main places that you get your college football news. All right, Jordan, there has been a ton of talk in college football, probably since the seeding of the first inaugural 12-team college football playoff came out, and the pandemonium and moaning and complaining from various college football fan bases. And finally, we have a change. There will be a new seeding structure to the college football playoff. The second iteration of the 12-team playoff will have a just regular seeding to it. If you will be seated as you are ranked heading into the playoffs. Now, this sort of change obviously had to be agreed to unanimously by all the players, meaning all the conference commissioners, so on and so forth, right? So how did they get this done? Well, because if you are that conference champ, even though you will not receive that top 4 ranking necessarily, you will still reap the financial benefit you would have if you receive that final 4 or that top 4 ranking. Hope that makes sense to everybody, but that is the new college football seeding structure as we go into next season and the second iteration of the 12-team college football playoff. Just a straight seeding. Pretty simple. Jordan, your thoughts on the change? Are you glad that they made the change and now it's just a straight seeding? What are your thoughts on how they got it done? Do you like that the conference champions still get that financial bump for winning their conference championship?
Yeah, I do think it makes a little bit more sense, as far as just the structure of the bracket, because, just last year it was just kind of ridiculous looking to have like a Boise State and with a first round bye, an Arizona State, just and then you have and then you have Texas and Ohio State and Penn State playing in that first round. Like it didn't really make a ton of sense. My only kind of criticism is that this is in the hands of the committee, and obviously the committee does not really know what they're doing sometimes, a lot of the time. And so that's the one thing that gives me pause is, okay, now they're going to be ranking just 12 teams straight up, and that's going to determine the bracket. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, it wasn't great when it was 4 teams, and expecting them to be able to rank 12 in a way that makes sense and works out. I don't know. And it also is just another example of it, of the college football world giving way to the SEC and Big Ten as far as just kind of what they want. This is kind of sowing the seeds of, okay, eventually, the SEC and the Big Ten are going to get a certain amount of automatic bids,
right?
Regardless of the year, and I don't love that. No, I don't love that for the sport, but I do think that is, even if it doesn't affect Clemson's chances all that much, it does, I think, affect the greater college football world. And, for this season, I think it's, Clemson has a great opportunity. Obviously, with not having to play the schedule is not, I wouldn't say is easy by any means, but certainly not a grueling schedule. And if you have a chance to go 11-1, 12-0, you'll likely be a top 4, top 4, top 5 team, and especially if you're top 4, you get that bye and everything. So, this was coming down the pipe because of how last season got so much criticism. It just seemed like an inevitability. So I kind of have mixed feelings about it. It makes sense, but it also is just another example of the sport giving way to the wishes of the SEC and the Big Ten, even if it is what everybody else probably wanted
Yeah.
for-
I think you make some good points there. Obviously, this is the other conferences caving to what the Big Ten and the SEC want. That's very clear. We know where probably all of these top 4 spots are going to go, if not 3 of the 4. Mark makes a valid point. He said Clemson is the most likely team to break up the Big Ten/SEC party of the top 4 seeds with buys. Otherwise, those 2 conferences will lock up these buys 90% of the time. That's absolutely correct. And that's kind of what you were alluding to, Jordan, is the rest of the conference kind of, just kind of seceding to those 2 big dogs and giving them what they want. Now, obviously, the Big Ten and the SEC had to give way a little bit by allowing the conference champions to still reap that financial benefit. Otherwise, it probably, I would venture to say definitely would not have been changed, at least not this season. But if I was the rest of the conferences, I probably wouldn't have done it. I probably would have stayed pat with what I had, and not given into what the Big Ten and the SEC wanted. I understand it from a couple different sides. Like maybe they're trying to operate in quote unquote good faith, so that maybe they get thrown a bone when the SEC and the Big Ten are obviously controlling everything from this point forward, basically. Do I think that's a reality? No, I don't think so. The SEC and the Big Ten are going to do what's best for those 2 conferences. And that's honestly, as much as I don't like it, that's what their conference commissioners' jobs are. The problem in college football right now is a lack of leadership. It's a lack of one person or a group of individuals that are looking out for college football as a whole. Instead, we are operating as different leagues who are only looking out for the interest of their league, and it's really taking a toll on the sport right now. And this is just another example of it. I don't mind the straight up seeding. Actually, me personally, I kind of prefer it. But at the end of the day, we all know where this is going, where only SEC and Big Ten teams are getting buys, outside of a few, anomalies here and there. Like, obviously, for instance, this year, 2025, I think Clemson's got a chance to lock up one of those top 4 spots if the team is what we think they're going to be, and, if the season goes the way that Clemson wants it to go, right? But much like Mark Rogers alluded to, 90% of the time, those top 2 leagues are going to lock up those top 4 spots and get those buys, right? So I find it interesting. I really didn't think there was going to be any changes to the 12-team playoff this season. But again, we live in a crazy world that is college football right now, and anything is possible. And even though I thought it wasn't going to happen, it did happen. So here we are. There's a new college football seeding. I'm glad that the conference champions, still get that bye. But again, I'm not a fan of all of this leagues operating and in their best interest. And I completely understand that Greg Sankey's job is to operate in the best interest of the SEC, right? Like, I get it. Same for all the rest of the commissioners throughout the country, right? Jim Phillips' job is to operate in the best interest of the ACC. He just happens to suck at it. But I digress. The ACC's had bad leadership for a long time. It's not just all on Jim Phillips. Mark makes another good point. The sport needs a commissioner or a governing body. Yeah, that's exactly what I was alluding to. Like, there needs to be a singular person or a group of individuals whose sole task is to make decisions for the best interest of college football. Not for the SEC, not for the Big Ten, not for the ACC, not for anyone, any one conference or any one team, but for the overall health of the sport. And I think until we get to that point where we have a college football commissioner or a college football governing body, if you will, I think we're going to continue to have all of these crazy shifts and turns and turmoil in the sport that, if you look at it, like, I mean, this is probably a whole nother segment and we're kind of going off the rails on the college football seeding thing, but just as a whole, like, if we were to take a 20, 30-minute segment, Jordan, and go back to prior to all of these drastic changes in the last 5 to 6 years in college football, and we just hit on every little small thing when you're looking at it in and of itself. But when you put all the small things together, there's been a lot of what people love and the fabric of college football, if you will, stripped away from the sport in the last 6 years. And it's really unfortunate. And it's all due to TV revenue. It's all due to money and how much money that they can produce in the sport. That's the reason for every decision that has been made, from the most minuscule change to all these crazy realignment things. It's all about money, and I get it. You need money to operate and all that kind of stuff, but college football is a unique sport, and I think it needs to stay a unique sport. And the sooner we get a college football commissioner or a college football governing body, the better.
Exactly. And you said it perfectly. Like it just, everything about the fabric of the sport has changed over the last 5 or 6 years. And this is just another example in the direction the sport is headed. I mean, obviously I was I don't want to say very against expansion, but I was pretty against expansion, for a lot of these reasons, because I just felt like this is where this was headed, more or less. And so, that is a rocket. Is that out? Yeah, that's gone. What a hit.
Yes, sir.
Clemson takes the lead back.
Get it done.
But what was I saying? Man, this baseball game has got me all tense, and I can't even get my words together.
Just talking about the fabric of the sport that's kind of been changed over the past 6 years.
And so, this is just another example of kind of why, there's so much concern and uncertainty about kind of the direction, the sport is headed. And, I like I said, I do think this college football, like the changing of the seeding, I think it made sense, for the 12-team playoff, but it is going to mean, what we all are kind of seeing this heading, and where it's two conferences have a monopoly on the sport, and there's all sorts of just kind of unclear guidance on how the sport is going to be run. It's not even just about the postseason and the playoff. It's just how the sport is organized. The conference realignment and the revenue sharing. We still don't have clear guidelines on what that's going to be, what that's going to look like, and what that model is going to be. And at the end of the day, still love the sport.
Absolutely.
Still college athletes playing the game. And I'm going to cherish that while we have it.
Absolutely.
Because you don't know when that's going to be.
Yeah. For as long as we have it, I will cherish it as well. And, I know this kind of segment maybe turned a little doom and gloom for some people out there. I mean, make no mistake, I'm not going to stop watching college football.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer for what they would have to do to cause me to stop watching college football. It's just something that I've done my whole life. So I would assume it would have to be, college football going away. I don't ever see myself not watching the sport. But I just wish that we could go back on some of these things, but the cat's kind of out of the bag, and we are where we are. But before we degrade the sport any further, I really hope we get to the point where we have a commissioner or a governing body of some sort, not named the NCAA, that basically has no power. So we'll hope for that. And in the meantime, what you guys should hope for is that you can hop over on all of your favorite audio streaming platforms: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcast from. Search Clemson Live. You'll see all of me and Jordan's long-form content over there. All the videos posted to the account, they are over there in podcast form. So whether you do it when you're working out, driving to or from work, on a long run, whatever you're doing, whenever, wherever you like to listen to your podcast, make sure you're checking out Clemson Live. Give us a rate, review, subscribe over there, and we would really appreciate your support. Jordan, the SP Plus rankings have dropped. I don't know if you've seen them. I'm sure you have. But Clemson checks in at the SP Plus rankings at number 8 overall. They are ranked second on offense and 23rd on defense. Hold on.
Is that fair?
Excuse me. 6th on offense, 12th on defense, and a whopping 133 on special teams, Jordan. So your thoughts on the SP Plus rankings and Clemson checking in at number 8. Obviously, we know all the players returning on offense. We know the players returning on defense. We know the addition of Will Help, Jeremiah Alexander, and all these things that we have coming back, the addition of Tom Allen as DC. So your thoughts on Clemson checking in at 8 and what it means for the upcoming season?
Yeah, I mean, if I've been a big kind of follower of Bill Connolly and SP Plus for a long time. So, I have a pretty good idea of how his kind of model works. So, it's not necessarily a ranking or like a schedule ranking or anything like that. It's just a pure amalgamation of what returning production. What is your recruiting looked like the past few years, and then it incorporates priors from previous seasons, like what have you been most recently, and it is a pretty good. I tend to think it's a pretty good indicator. Maybe not the preseason, but as you get more data and as it gets more and more, as you play more and more games, I think it does kind of give a comprehensive sort of power ranking. But as far as the rankings for offense and defense, not a ton of surprise there. I do think the defense is suffering a little bit from their on-field performance this past year, and not necessarily the talent that's on the roster.
As they should.
Yeah. So, but 12th is still a good ranking, and 6th, it definitely makes a ton of sense for the offense. Obviously, the glaring ranking is the 133rd in special teams. I believe only Arizona State, Texas, and one other team is worse than Clemson. I was kind of surprised about Texas, but then I remember their kicker entered the transfer portal, and I think their punter left. So they don't really have anything returning. And they were kind of iffy on special teams from last year too.
Yeah, they weren't great last year.
Yeah. So, but the 133rd on special teams, I don't think Clemson will end up being the 133rd best special teams unit. I do think they'll be better than that.
God, I hope not.
I would hope so, but it is a really poor reflection on what last season was and what special teams has been like the past couple of years. Obviously, you haven't had a great punter, and you've had so many block kicks and things of that nature. Haven't been able to protect, even with a kicker as strong as Nolan Hooser is, and I think he's going to have a phenomenal career. But it is a reflection of you haven't had much of a return game. You have to factor that in as well. You haven't given up too many big returns, so that's about the only positive. But you haven't been able to flip the field when you need to, and you've had a lot of missed kicks, block kicks, and things like that. And you couple all that together, and just kind of a inconsistency in performance there, and that's how you get the 133rd or ranked special teams unit. So that's certainly got to get better, and that's something we'll definitely talk about as we get closer to the season, how we feel about that, because that is a glaring sort of question mark, one of the biggest glaring question marks on this team, and could be the difference, potentially, in close games. So you don't want, that's not what you want.
Right. Yeah, I mean, look, I think you look at the SP Plus rankings, and Clemson relatively is where you would expect them to be, right? You expect them to be pretty high as far as offensively. They check in at 6. You mentioned the defense being punished because of some of the on-field lack of production from last season, specifically in the run game, right? And being able to stop and control the running game against other teams. And it wasn't against particularly good teams at all times as well. So you can't even chalk it up to, we just went against some really good teams that could run the ball. That wasn't the case. We were just flat out terrible at stopping the run last year. And obviously that reflects in the rankings, and that's why you're at 12th. But, the good news for Clemson fans is you think, at least at this point, obviously without seeing Clemson, the 2025 version on the field yet, you assume that we have addressed all of those issues. We brought in Will Helt. We brought in Jeremiah Alexander from the transfer portal, right? We bring in Tom Allen as the new defensive coordinator to right some of those wrongs. So you expect them to improve there. And you mentioned the special teams. I mean, there's nothing really to say. We were bad. We were bad. I think we have a good kicker. The problem is we couldn't block for him most of the time last year. Most of his kicks got blocked, right? Obviously, everybody thinks about the game winner in the ACC championship game, that 58-yard bomb that he hit, but that was not Clemson's kicking, which made the way that we won the ACC championship game so ironic, because we were not a great kicking team, and suddenly we hit a 58-yard bomb walk-off field goal to win the ACC championship game.
You have to remember, Clemson had 7 kicks blocked last year. So, that certainly was that 50. That 56-yarder was not the norm for this team.
No. The second we lined up for it, I was like, there's no way.
Yeah.
Just full transparency, being honest. There's not. You can't tell me majority of Clemson fans thought we were gonna make that kick.
Nope.
Especially being that far. You're already struggling with blocked field goals, and then you back it up to a 56-yard field goal game winner. You have to have a lower trajectory on that kick just to get it there, right? Which is a recipe for getting your kick blocked. Luckily, we backed up a yard and gave the line a little bit of a buffer there. Christian, you're the ultimate fan, never a doubt.
Yeah,
I'm sure. Yeah, you had all your money on that for sure. I did as well. Yeah, we were all locked in on that one, but it ended in Clemson's way. But no, just overall the special teams, you're right. We haven't, and it's been a couple of years now since we've really had any sort of return game on special teams. It's almost like we don't even try to return the ball at this point. And obviously the punting woes that have been Clemson, specifically last year, were bad. We were praying for just a 40-yard punt if we could just please have one. And it didn't help that every team that played us seemed to have like their best punting game ever of all time.
Tell me about it.
But again, obviously, the special teams has to improve. But Clemson is about where I figured they would be on a list such as this. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this team is. They're getting a lot of love. They're getting a lot of hype. A lot of the national media types, the talking heads, are loving them some Clemson right now. They're a really popular pick. They're a really popular team to talk about right now heading into 2025. But at the end of the day, you got to go on the field and prove it. So although I agree with a lot of the sentiments out there about this 2025 Clemson team, they got to go out there and prove it on the field.
100%. And it's going to start with everything. It's going to start with the offense and the defense, of course, but you can't be as bad as you were last year. And think this is going to be a team that can win, 15, 16 games and win a national championship.
Right. Absolutely. All right, guys, I know that most of you are on Twitter, you're on Instagram. So check out the Voice of College Football while you're on your various social media apps. Got the Instagram posted right here on the screen for you guys to check out. The Voice of College Football, the VOCFB. Give us a follow on Instagram and help boost us over there. Also, I know that you guys know we have a Twitter page or an X page as well. So go check it out. The Voice of College Football Network official Twitter page, the best debate discussion without an off season. They're constantly posting our show schedules, constantly posting things going on within the network. So give it a follow over there, and appreciate you guys for helping us out with that and growing the social media over at the Voice of College Football. Last but certainly not least, make sure you like and subscribe. We got 25 people in the live chat right now. Hit that like button. Get us as many likes as we possibly can. It helps us out on these live videos. And then consider subscribing. You don't have to be a Clemson fan to hang out here with us. Me and Jordan welcome all fan bases here. Yes, we mainly talk about Clemson football, but we talk about college football as a whole from time to time. So come hang out with us. Make us one of your regular stops for all things college football. Again, Wednesday, 8 p.m., all-in show. Check us out, okay? Give us a follow on Twitter. And with that said, Jordan, we'll get to a few comments here, and then we'll get out of here. Like I said, we got a couple games going on right now. Baseball's going on. Jordan's about to break his neck going back and forth between baseball and the show. And softball's about to kick off here soon down in Texas. So we are going to get to a couple questions, and then we'll get up out of here. And hope you guys have a great rest of the week. Let's see if I can get to a couple questions here.
Yeah, BJ Bailey's getting hammered right now.
Is he?
State tied it all up. Two runners on, first and third, and there's still no outs. Tie ball game. Oh boy. I still can't click on these. I still can't click on messages.
It's okay.
That's tough.
Sorry.
That's so frustrating.
John Sarin says, the plan, I thought, is to enforce the 4-4-2-2 G5 out. No, I don't think so. None of those changes are going to be made until the SEC and the Big Ten have full control over it, and then who knows what they're going to do.
I that's probably what he's getting at. Like that,
Yeah.
That's where they're trying to push for. And
I mean, I'm of the belief that the G5 should have their own playoff.
Yeah.
And I know that's not what they want, and I get it. I've heard arguments from Group of Five fans, and I understand where they're coming from. I just think, like, wouldn't you want to have like a legitimate shot to win a national championship instead of getting maybe one team in a year? I don't know. That's just me. That's my thought process. I know a lot of people out there disagree with it, but I'm of the opinion that they should definitely have their own playoff. I think people would watch it. I think it would be exciting. And I think it would be a good product. So that's my opinion on it. But again, that's probably never going to happen. John also says Saban for commissioner. What say you, Jordan?
Yeah, I'm not against it. That's for sure. We do have a super chat.
Oh, okay. Not bad. I did not even see that. Zach, so sorry, my man. I did not see your super chat. Thank you so much for the support and the $5 super chat. Appreciate you. Jordan, take a banner/sign, pass out merch to players week 1 versus LSU, score a post-game interview, give Dabo a hat, streak with a banner on prime time.
You're doing so well, Zachariah. I don't know about.
I don't know if $5 is enough for all that, but that's quite the list of things you got to get done in week 1, Jordan.
Yeah, I'm not a $5 is $5 type of guy. You're
$20 ain't $20.
Yeah, no, $20 is not $20. I'm gonna need more if you want me to score a post game interview.
Man, they would mess up if they gave me and Jordan press passes. Oh Lord.
Oh man, no.
Man. The rest of the real reporters be looking at us like, who are these two dudes over here?
Yeah.
What is going on?
Oh, that would be something, wouldn't it?
They just let anybody in here. They ain't even real reporters.
Well, Clemson, yeah. See, sometimes. Some of the people they let in there, I don't want to. Let me chill.
Say it again.
No thanks.
All right, Tig says, in my opinion, the number 1 seed needs to play the number 5 seed. Number 2 needs to play number 6, and so on. Why give the number 1 a cupcake game out of the gate?
Man, we're throwing Molstead. Oh, my goodness.
That's just the way that they're going to get the easiest draw as a reward for being the number 1 team.
Yeah. Well, the number 1 needs to play the 5. I mean, that wouldn't really make a ton of sense. Like, yeah, you don't want to. Yeah, you want to reward the.
Yeah, I mean, I think the number 1 team deserves the easy draw. I mean,
It makes sense to give them the worst or the best non-bye team in the second round. Like, that doesn't. Yeah.
John Theron says NFL doesn't want to get involved. I'm expecting that college football will split into pro and amateur sooner than later. Pro will have buyers, investors like the NFL. That's interesting. So I think what he's saying is there's going to be like a professionalized version of college football and then amateurs as well. Like split 2 different leagues.
Yeah, and I think because like the people are like, well, why doesn't the NFL, get involved? It's like, because why would they? Why would they spend money when they already have their own farm system?
Free for them for forever, 150 years or whatever. Like, it's been free for them. Like, why would they pay money to college football to do anything? They know that everybody wants to play in the NFL, and the greatest players, that's where they're going to go. So I don't think the NFL has any incentive to even care about what's going on in college football. It's unfortunate because they could solve some of the issues, but I don't think they're interested in any of it. But I think your take on splitting into a league that'll be basically pro with buyers and so are we talking about kind of like a G League, like the NBA has, like, but a college football?
Kind of, sort of, yeah. Like,
so would that be schools or would that just be random team? Like, I don't know. I don't know if I fully understand the concept of that. Whether it would just be like
it would still like you would separate. I think you separate college football, like the haves and the have-nots. Like, the haves will be the
So at that point, are those players like? At that point, would the players even be students, or would they just be playing football for?
Well, that's the thing.
Whatever university. And then how does that? I don't know. I see where he's going. I don't fully know how that would work with like universities, and I would hate that. I hope that doesn't happen because I would hate that. I don't want that. I would rather us rewind a little bit and go back to some of the other things, but I know that's not going to happen.
Yeah, probably not.
All right, let's see. John says SP plus model flaw is the recruiting reliance, according to him.
Yeah, there is a lot of the recruiting rankings baked into that. I think it is a good predictor of like power rating in some respects, like, but it's not always going to be a good indicator of like wins and losses. Like, So you're going to have like Texas A&M is a prime example of this, like because they're you see them throughout the years, like they've accrued a lot of talent, and they'll play up to some of the teams they play, and then they'll turn around and lose to Mississippi State or something like that, because that's just they're not a good team, but they have high caliber athletes, and so from a game to game, we're talking about 12 games and a small sample size. They're going to have games. There's going to be a high degree of variance in terms of performance. So, I think that's kind of the thing. But I do agree that there can be some kind of an over reliance on kind of how it's factored in. Like obviously, I don't see the numbers and how like the exact formula and the exact how the model calculates that specifically, but it does have a skew towards teams that recruit well, which in practice makes sense, but in reality it doesn't always.
Wet Sox got some orange colored glasses for us. Says, look at the bright side. Can't give up a big return if you only punt the ball 30 yards every time. You might be onto something there.
Yeah,
that's true. Glass half full. Big brain.
This is big brain stuff by Clemson.
That was a hell of a spin by West Sox there. That was a hell of a spin. I like it.
That was a big double play.
Christian says, I don't think we've been top 100 in special teams in a long time. I don't know how long it's been. I'd have to actually go back and look.
We weren't very good in 23. Or I know we weren't good. Yeah, I think we were outside the top 100 in 23 too. I don't know about 22.
Yeah, I don't know what the last year of us inside the top 100 would have been.
Yeah. I would think 22 was better because you still had BT Potter and Will Spires was still punter.
Will Spires was solid. Yeah.
Especially towards the end of his career, like he wasn't.
He got better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Isaac Smith said, "I was 100% convinced that kick was going to get blocked at SMU, and SMU would return it back with a walk-off TD." Yeah. I think there was more than you out there that crossed their mind prior to that ball being snapped and Nolan Hooser putting it through the uprights. You were certainly not alone in having some not great thoughts heading into that play.
Yeah, that was that certainly ran through my mind. What a pitch. All right, well, Clemson limits the damage. They're down a run, heading to the 7th. Yep.
Got to go get it back.
Yep. It might have been a favorable call. It was a great pitch.
John Stern said Bakich is a master at avoiding interviews.
Yep. Talk for 30 seconds, then look and find the closest victim.
He's like, hey, y'all want to talk to this guy right here?
Yeah, come talk to TP Wentworth.
Yeah.
Man, what a great name. TP Wentworth. That sounds like a law firm.
That does. TP Wentworth. He should go be a lawyer.
Yeah.
That's a great law firm name. I would hire that law firm if I needed one. TP Wentworth. Sound like they win some cases.
Yes, they do. And you want to talk to Drew Titsworth? Yeah. Pull somebody random. Come talk to I don't know, Talon Bell. Like you're just pulling somebody. I love it.
David Wood said LSU talking.
When are they not?
That's what they're good at. Said LSU DBs are mostly portal, 2 from ACC. NC State and Virginia Tech. That is correct. That is correct.
Mansour Delane, definitely high on a lot of people's draft boards. I do think he's a really good corner. And then the kid from NC State, I remember, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. Is it Brandon something? Yeah, no. It'll come to me later. But yeah, they did revamp that secondary. Will they be ready to play? Week one, will they be like? Will they have all the kinks ironed out? I don't know. Who's to say? But I definitely think they'll be a lot better. They'll continue to improve defensively. I thought they improved defensively last year, and I expect that to continue. I do think their defensive coordinator is a good defensive coordinator in Blake Baker. So we'll see. We'll see. They've certainly got a test from Clemson's passing attack. So they'll find out pretty soon.
Softball's in a weather delay.
Not too mad about that.
Yeah, me either. It means I'll get to watch it because we'll be off here. Wet Sox says, are we expecting the O-line to make the same amount of progression that they did last year? We'll need that to help the run game.
That is the question, and that's probably a segment we'll do, later.
Yeah, I feel like we need to do an entire segment on the offensive line and kind of expectations and what they're going to look like.
Yeah. I mean, what do they need to do? Because in a lot of respects, I mean, the offensive line was pretty good last year, but obviously the goal isn't to be pretty good. They want to be one of the best in the country.
Elite.
Yeah, elite. And so what does it take to get from pretty good to elite? Because when you're pretty good, you're gonna play well against most of the teams you play. But then when it comes to the teams that that have the defensive lines of like a Georgia or a Texas or South Carolina's last year, it looks a little bit different. And I don't think there was a game where Clemson's offensive line got completely dominated, but they did get beat.
Yeah,
in those games
for sure.
And that's the thing that you need to that needs to flip. You need to be the one imposing your will on the offensive line, and you have to be able to do it when you play these better defensive fronts. And so we'll certainly talk about where this team, what that group needs to do to take that next jump. Because pretty good is, I don't know if pretty good is enough to win a national title. I think you do need to take that next step.
Certainly, I think the offensive line certainly needs to take another step.
And that almost got out of here.
But the guy at the helm, Matt Luke, is the one that you want there, and I fully trust in his ability to squeeze every ounce out of this offensive line. And I don't think he's going to sleep or rest or stop the grind until we have elite level offensive line play consistently. So as long as we can keep him as our offensive line coach and happy, I think the closer we will continue to come to elite offensive line play, which is really not something Clemson's ever been able to say. Like, we've had really good offensive lines in the past, but Clemson's never really been truly elite along the offensive line, really consistently ever. So I'm really looking forward to Matt Luke kind of making that the norm at Clemson, having elite offensive line play. So Intelligent Savage said, what are your thoughts hearing Cade Klubnik taking his top wide receivers to California to work out with QB guru Jordan Palmer and train on Cade Klubnik's dime? Salute to Cade Klubnik on the leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was really cool to see. I mean, last offseason, you saw Cade Klubnik go and work out with Jordan Palmer, and you saw what that meant for his development.
Yeah, the
You
huge
know,
strides he made last
yeah.
offseason.
So, just continue to build that rapport. Obviously, he already has great chemistry with Antonio Williams, but continuing to build it with Bryant Wesco and TJ Moore, and seeing that group get closer together, because that's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. It shows who Cade Klubnik is, right? How much he cares about this team and this upcoming season and building that chemistry, Jordan, that you mentioned with the wide receivers. But the one thing I want to mention is, as much as we complain about NIL and the negative effects that it's had on college football, here's an example to talk about some of the positives that NIL has had on college football, right? Because otherwise, in another world, Cade Klubnik would not have the means to fly him and his wide receivers to California for a week or however long to work out with a private coach. That would not be possible in another world of college football, right? But now, in the day of NIL, it is possible. So, as much as I, think NIL has been a detriment to college football at times, this is one of the times where we can highlight it and be like, this is a positive that has come out of NIL. And I think it's great that we have players such as Cade Klubnik that have the forethought and want to be that type of leader to not only treat his guys to what I'm sure was a very fun trip for them, but also a trip that created a lot of chemistry, that created a bond that will carry and will be important during the tough times of the season. And it'll pay dividends. It'll pay huge dividends. So shout out to Cade Klubnik. Shout out to all those wide receivers. It's always good to see your team involved in headlines like that in the offseason.
Are they gonna call that a drop? I mean, that probably hit off his foot.
All right, we'll take a couple more questions, Jordan, and then we're going to get out of here. Intelligent Savage says Clemson has 4 players on the top 100 players in college football. In order, who's having the best season of all 4 of them? I'm assuming that's Klubnik, Parker, Woods,
Terrell.
Is it AJ Terrell? AB?
I can't remember. I think he's I'm pretty sure he's referring to the ESPN. I think it was ESPN or was it On 3 that did it? I can't remember. It might have been On 3 that did the top 100, but I think that was the group that they had.
I'm gonna go Cade. I'm gonna go Cade Klubnik, because if we want to go where we want, if we want to end up where a lot of us think this team's capable of, Cade Klubnik needs to have another huge season and build on what he did last year. So I'm going to go Cade. Will have the best season of the top 4.
I think I can agree with that.
All right, I'm looking for one last question here before we get out of here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it was Terrell. I couldn't remember because I was wondering like what would the top four be? Just off the top of my head, without having to look it up. And I was like, I feel like those four would be the consensus in
Yeah.
anybody's top four. And
Yeah, I think so.
obviously there are arguments that could be made for a Blake Miller or TJ Moore, Bryant Wesco, Sammy Brown, but I think those are the four that are. I think every mainstream outlet is kind of consistently mentioning. So,
yeah, for sure. All right, 2 more questions here, and then we're going to get out of here, Jordan. I got 2 more lined up, and then we are going to end the show a little early tonight. David, first of all, thank you so much for being a channel member and supporting the show and the channel in that way. We really do appreciate it. He says, do we expect to see a jump in the linebackers this year, similar to the offensive line from last year?
I think it's in the cards. I mean, you have a good. I mean, you feel good about your 2 starters. You made a big addition in the portal that I think can help you this year in a big way. And you have some pieces that are less proven, but I think have some ability. And it's a development game now. And how much do they take to this new regime between Ben Boulware and obviously Tom Allen overseeing the defense? Like, with this, was it all just a mentality thing? Like, and is that alone enough to shift how this group plays?
Yeah, that's the one question I don't have going into the season is what mentality will the linebackers go out there with? Because with Ben Boulware in the room, you already know what it's going to be. At least the energy and the mentality that he's going to bring from a coaching standpoint. But again, he's a very young coach. Obviously, you got Tom Allen kind of looking over his shoulder to some degree, right? And then obviously Tom Allen's son helping out there as well. But I do expect to see an improvement in the linebacker room this year. I definitely expect to see an improvement. All right, last one, and then we're going to get out of here, Jordan. Tiggs, with the BYOG or sell, Clemson has 0 decommits in the 2026 class.
Oh, man. Oh, brother. I don't like these types of questions. 0 decommits and scars from last cycle. I don't expect to see the same level of decommits that Clemson had last year, and I think it's possible that they hold on to all the guys they get in the boat. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, it's tougher now more than ever to keep guys in the boat, and Clemson is not immune, as good as they have been historically at keeping their players in the class. So I'm going to sell, but doesn't mean that I don't.
Yeah, I think I think sell for a couple reasons. One, you saw what happened towards the end of last cycle, and much like you, Jordan, I don't expect a repeat of that. However, with the amount of big time talent that we already have committed in this class, and some guys that we expect to commit here probably at the official visit weekend or shortly after the official visit weekend, it's going to be hard to not have at least one guy falter and maybe decommit from the Tigers, right? Just because you do have a class that's securely in that top 5, right? You do have big name after big name in this class right now, and should somebody come calling with the right number or the right pitch, they could pluck one of those guys away from you. So for those reasons, I'll sell. But again, like you said before, I don't expect it to be a repeat of last season.
Yeah,
at least let's hope not. That would not be good.
Here's the hope.
All right, guys. That is going to do it for tonight's show. I know it's a bit of an abbreviated show. Normally, me and Jordan are on here for probably another hour chopping it up with you guys, but we got some games to go watch. Go support the Tigers. Watch the end of the baseball game. Watch the softball game. But thank you guys so much for being here. We still got 18 people in the live chat right now. Thank you guys so much for showing up. Sorry for the schedule change. We tried to get out there as early as possible and make the announcements on X, and we made the announcements in the community tab on the YouTube page. So hopefully you guys got that and weren't showing up Wednesday expecting a show and we weren't here. But again, thank you guys for all your support. Thank you, David, for being a channel member. If you guys are interested, go ahead and hit that channel membership right on our homepage and consider becoming a channel member. And as that grows, we will start putting out exclusive content for the members only. Again, thank you guys. We'll see you next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Right here for another edition of the All In Show. Until then, I'm Tiger Paul Craven. He's Jordan Bowman. Go Tigers.
Later, y'all.